This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Hey guys, Jay here. Welcome to Models Memories Weekly, episode 147. Models Memories is a show about nothing and is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is a show where I talk about my painting, modeling, and wargaming experiences from the week. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 YouTube videos a week. How? Could I possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here it goes. This week, Games Workshop teased a not very secret codex. I started a new wargame, shocker, and speaking of new wargames, there's a new wargame coming out this year. But first, do you have a burning desire to make your own website, but you know you don't have the technical expertise to make it happen? Well, Squarespace is here to help. Squarespace makes it easy and fun to dive headfirst into website design with simple to use features and professional support from start to finish. Start by looking through one of dozens of templates on offer to see which one resonates with you, or create your own using their next-gen Fluid Engine Designer. Every detail is customizable to fit your website needs. Dragging and dropping allows you to create the website that you envision. Squarespace also provides a fast solution to creating a storefront online. Whether your products are physical, digital, or service-based, now selling your custom merch is easier than ever with Squarespace. Squarespace offers a free trial for you to dip your feet into and test the waters, and when you're ready to dive in head first, you can follow the link in the description below or type in squarespace.com/EonsBattle to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Although I flip-flopped back and forth a lot, I actually did not participate in the pre-order of the new Old World big bundle battle boxes. I was kind of surprised Tomb Kings is actually still available, at least the big boxes, and the Bretonnians are completely sold out. I kind of thought it would be the flip, but I guess Bretonnians, I've heard the word Bretonnians constantly. Like every time I put out an Age of Sigmar video, people are like, isn't as cool as Bretonnians used to be. So there's a lot of nostalgia for Bretonnians, and everybody who liked the Tomb Kings just kind of switched to Ossiarch Bone Reapers because they're kind of cooler anyway. I mean, they're much better looking sculpts. They're redesigned. They have like a really solid vision as opposed to Tomb Kings, which are just sort of Egyptian skeletons. And some of them look really derpy at this point. Man, some of those skeletons really show the fact that they're 30-year-old plastic sculpts. It's a little rough, but just because I didn't get the big box doesn't mean I'm not planning on some Tomb Kings maybe later this year. I got a Tomb Kings guy, and he's my cousin. We'll see what happens. One thing I didn't realize though, people really don't like the Crocoduck Dragon. I love the Crocoduck Dragon. He is so cute. He is a good boy. He looks a little derpy, but I also think that a lot of that has to do with Games Workshop's paint job. I would love to paint the Crocoduck Dragon and see just how good it can look. I also feel like it doesn't, especially in the pictures that they've shown off, like on the Games Workshop web store and stuff, it's hard to look at him. He's all bones. There's not one little tiny bit of skin on him. So he doesn't look very big or impressive, but I bet in person, he looks pretty great. And it comes with all sorts of great stuff. There's sand turning into a buzzard. There's a cat that Games Workshop really wants us to fall in love with this cat. In fact, they actually added it to the end of their article teasing the new Las Vegas Open reveals. Literally, it's just the cat at the end of the article, and they're like, you guys liked crab. Do you like cat? It's crab, but now it's cat. You guys like cat now. It's kind of great. I almost wonder if it's kind of become like a paradigm at Games Workshop that they have to make cute animals, because every now and then cute animals go viral from Games Workshop. It's kind of adorable, but yeah, Tomb Kings. Old World in general is kind of interesting. Everything pretty much for the most part sold out. Is that enough? Is that enough to start a new game? Like there's 40K, and then, there's some people who play 30K. There's Age of Sigmar. Is there gonna be some people who play Old World? I don't know, it's hard to say. Also, Old World, 30K doesn't feel that different from 40K, where Old World is fairly different from Age of Sigmar. It'll be really interesting to see how it all shakes up. And it's also a little frustrating that Games Workshop's bringing back a full-sized army game when they can't keep anything in stock. Games Workshop, restock the Exocrines, please. But speaking of Games Workshop stock issues, Games Workshop has shown us a roadmap for codexes coming out in 2024, and there is one coming out this summer that is a secret. If you look, it's just a codex and it says classified, and presumably, it's a secret codex that's like a brand new thing that we haven't seen before. But I think we all know it's going to be Emperor's Children. It has to be Emperor's Children, unless it's something like crazy, like Harud or something we've never seen before. It's gotta be Emperor's Children. We got Khorne, we got Nurgle, we got Tzeentch. We need a Slaanesh army proper. And currently, There's like one Slaanesh. I guess we got Fabulous Bill, one of the coolest characters in the Evil Legions. But it's gonna be like, I really, really want to see what Games Workshop can do with Slaanesh. I get that it's hard, and I get that the other Chaos Gods have kind of stolen a lot of the attributes that you can use to craft like a really interesting, characterful race in a sci-fi setting. But like Age of Sigmar did it. Age of Sigmar with kind of this like Persian influence and really weird, creepy pink warrior guys. I definitely think 40K can do it. I could see 40K maybe leaning into a little bit more of like the rock and roll vibes, especially with the Noise Marine that they still make. Like that's a really, really cool model. Not very 40K. He's literally just got a guitar. It is a bolter guitar, but it's not really like a deadly looking weapon. I miss the Sonic cannons and the Sonic Dreadnought that we haven't seen in like 20 years. It was an old white metal model. Probably get a Fulgrim. If we got another Primarch and it's Fulgrim, then we would also know what the model of the year is going to be for 2024, because Primarchs just win. I guess the only reason Angron didn't win this year is because the Lion came out, but a Primarch, I bet, will always win model of the year. But I would be super interested in an Emperor's Children army. I do like the Demonettes. I know a lot of people prefer the old Juan Diaz Demonettes, and I can't imagine why. Maybe it was because they were wearing less clothing, but I could see them redoing the Demonettes and definitely the Seekers. Seekers are looking rough. The Chariots of Slaanesh are spiky, spindly, can't buy them on eBay because they always end up broken. They're just a really, really rough kit. Slaanesh in general has some fans out there, but they're not getting what they need. Games Workshop, come through with the fan service, make Emperor's Children a proper faction. You can do it just like Khorne and come out with like 3 kits and just call it a faction. I guess we're back to doing that because Votann came out, and Votann doesn't have enough kits yet, but it's a full faction. You can totally play it. It's got a combat patrol. The Corny Marines with their 8-ball bound. It's a faction, I guess. You can supplement it with a lot of different kits from the regular Chaos Space Marines, and they can do the same thing with Slaanesh. And it would mean that I get a new Dreadnought. They gotta do another Dreadnought. Tzeentch doesn't have a Dreadnought, but that kind of makes sense. They also have the Warp Beast, so they kind of have their own Dreadnought-y-like thing. I guess Khorne doesn't have a Dreadnought. I guess the Hellbrute is doing a lot of work for giving everybody their own unique kind of Mark of Chaos Dreadnoughts. But I want to see the noise cannons. I just want to see a big purple Dreadnought. I just like the idea of that. But speaking of liking the idea of things, I was sitting at my painting desk this weekend, thinking about what I want to work on. I've been working on a squad of 12 Wookiee warriors for Star Wars Legion, and for Star Wars Shatterpoint, the We Are Brave, Your Highness pack, which is Queen Amidala, for so long. Just little by little, hour by hour, working on getting those done. So I decided to put them aside, and I painted these. Judge Dredd and Judge Anderson from the miniatures game I Am the Law, which is, of course, Judge Dredd. It's a cool little skirmish game. I have the starter box for it, and so I've kind of been looking at these models, and they kind of harken back to the old days. These are single pieces of plastic. These are CO cast plastic, but they look like metal models, like just one piece each. And you know, it kind of made me think, I have a lot of 3D printed models, and 3D printing is great because you can do things that you actually can't do with plastic or resin or metal. You can create these amazingly detailed miniatures with fire and chains and spikes, and it becomes super incredibly fragile. And that's what I don't like about 3D printed models, is they're so fragile. If I'm gonna pour hours and hours and hours into this miniature, and then I drop it, it explodes and it's just gone. Where these kind of rubbery CO cast single piece, I could whip this at the wall. I might lose a little bit of paint, but that model's not going anywhere. It's just nice, and I like the style. Big old feet, big hands, gigantic guns, big heads. They were a joy to paint. I got both of these guys done in probably about 5 hours. It wasn't too bad at all. Weird, punky comic book colors. I also love Judge Dredd, so it's just so much fun. The Carl Urban movie was so good. And I even like the Stallone movie. He takes his helmet off. It's kind of a problem, but it's a really, really fun movie. So I like Judge Dredd. I'm gonna paint up the goons so I can actually play the Skirmish game and see how it plays on the tabletop. Man, these were just a fun time. And it got me super psyched to actually work on my models, because sometimes when something just is not getting done, I start to slow down on it a little bit. Like my first painting session of the 12 Wookiee Warriors, 8 hours, bam, all the fur done, all the bases done. And then the next painting session was like an hour with a lot of YouTube breaks. And then the next painting session was like 15 minutes and I got one little sword done. And then sometimes now they just sit on my desk and I look at them from time to time. you kind of run out of steam. But finishing something and being really happy with the finished product, now I want to go right back to those Wookiee Warriors, crank them out, move on to the next thing. And there's a lot of next things. I have been painting like a fiend this year, and we're only like 10 days in. It's great. On my painting spreadsheet, I'm already in the double digits. I mean, I should be because it's day 10, but I'm in the double digits. It's great. But I really like these miniatures. They were really, really fun to do. I can't wait to paint up the goons. And I really like getting to paint with fun colors. I think part of the reason I've been having so much fun painting this year is because I haven't done any Black Templars yet. And I love my Black Templars. I absolutely adore them. But painting black and gray and brown for hundreds of hours, it's not quite as much fun as neon green, bright blue. Also the butts. The butts on these miniatures. I don't know what it is about butts, but they paint up really, really nicely. Although I gotta give it to Dredd on this one. That man really fills out a onesie. He is looking good. He's got some tush back there. Just so much fun to paint these miniatures. I kind of want to get like some old Reaper Bones minis or some more just simple miniatures that are just so easy and fun to paint up. And just sprinkle them anytime I'm feeling a little stuck in my painting. Just grab one and crank it out. And of course it helps that it's part of a game, because as much as I love painting, I also really, really love gaming. And if it's not attached to a game, then it doesn't really feel like a toy. It just feels like this is, you paint something that's like, this is really cool, and it's gonna sit on the shelf and I'm gonna forget about it. But I'm actually gonna play with these suckers and it's gonna be a lot of fun. Ooh, I have a Doom Guy model. And technically he doesn't have a game to go around it, but I feel like Doom Guy would fit really well into any game. Like I could just write rules for him real quick. Just Doom Guy shows up, 25 wounds, strength 14, does mortal wounds if he rolls a 2-up. It'd be really easy to write rules for him, and it'd be really, really fun. I remember back in the day, this is like 13 years ago, Mini Wargaming had an apocalypse game where Matt wrote a whole bunch of extra rules on cards, and they would draw one every turn to see what weird, wacky thing happens. Maybe I could write rules that are like, Judge Dredd and Anderson show up on the battlefield. Doom Guy shows up on the battlefield. Could even get weird with it. Find some Teletubby STLs. That would make for a really, really fun scenario. I'm gonna have to keep that in my back pocket. But yeah, just little miniatures. So much fun. But speaking of miniatures, there is a new miniatures game coming out this year. It was just announced that Mantic is going to be making a Halo game, an official Halo game. And there was a Halo miniatures game, and you know what? I see some absolute legends playing it every year at Adepticon, and it does look like a lot of fun. I forget the name, like the Scorpion tank for the Covenant. It's like the size of a child. It's kind of amazing. But there's gonna be a new miniatures game for Halo. I could paint up Master Chief. I could paint up some Spartans. That actually sounds pretty sick. Interestingly, it's in the article, it calls itself a cooperative, like a cooperative strategy game, which is really interesting. It's not something that I've experienced yet. I know they exist out there, and a lot of different games have like game modes for it where you like multiple people play as one faction, and then you've got like either an AI or somebody else playing as the enemy faction. And it does sound like a really, really interesting game style, but it also just sounds, I always wondered if like licensed IP is a good thing or a bad thing. Obviously Games Workshop invented their own IP and it has dominated. I mean, it's Warhammer, it's pretty great and everyone kind of loves it. But I always thought that other like intellectual property things would rise up, and they sort of have. There's a Harry Potter strategy game. There's obviously Marvel Crisis Protocol. There's a Batman game, which I kind of want to get into. And so it does seem like licensed IP does do something, Although it's hard to believe that like if somebody really likes Halo, they're gonna get into a miniatures game. It's probably gonna be other people who already like miniatures games and like Halo. And I like Halo a lot. And I've actually read a bunch of the novels, but I've never played a Halo game. I own them all. They're in my Steam library. I don't have time to play games. So I've never downloaded them and actually played them, but I know I would love them. I mean, the novels are cool. And I haven't seen the TV show yet. Hear great things. At least it looks really cool. But I would definitely paint up some Spartans. It looks like it's gonna be really, really cool. I also just love the villains in Halo. The Covenant, the aliens, the definitely not inspired the Tau bad guys. Which in theory, that is what the Tau is supposed to be. It's supposed to be like a conglomerate of different alien races, but really it's just the Tau, some Kroot, and the Vespid haven't been seen in a while. Ooh, I hope Vespid gets new kits soon. Hey, the Tau Codex is actually coming out fairly soon, before summer, so I really hope we get some new Vespid. We're getting new Kroot. Games Workshop showed it off. I would love some new Vespid because the artwork of the Vespid is really, really cool. The models, not so much. What I kind of hope for the Halo miniatures game, I think it could definitely go two ways. Either big ol' army game, you got units, you build an army, that could be really, really cool. But if it's gonna be very skirmishy, which is looking like it's gonna be, and they're gonna show off more in March, and it just happens that Adepticon is in March, so maybe we're gonna get some more reveals at Adepticon. But if they're gonna go more skirmishy, I hope it is a board game, or at least like a board game format. Because the tricky thing with skirmish games sometimes is it's like so in between an army game and a board game that it's too much stuff to actually like carry around and play easy pickup games with. If it all kind of just fit together, there's a really interesting game, Demon Ship, where it's like a 6x6 cube, and inside of that cube fits the terrain and your miniatures and your heroes and your villains. I don't think the Halo game should be that small, but I would like it to take up less room, to actually give you a strategy of how to keep all of this stuff in your house. Because I have, 20? Like, I have so many little games, and it just becomes a mess. It just becomes an absolute mess, especially because I also like steal dice from everywhere. And so it's a project, getting a little tiny game up and running, where if it all just was in a box with beautiful artwork on the front with a big old Master Chief and some other Spartans, and maybe a little grunt just running around in the background, that would be perfect, because it's just frustrating sometimes. Like I have Armada also from Mantic, and it's great. I really, really like that game. The ships are so big, they don't fit in the tote box I bought for them to go in. So right now I'm trying to find a tote box that's small enough that it'll fit on my shelf, but is tall enough that it'll actually fit the sailing ships, which is really annoying because I like to there's a tote box I like, and all of my games fit in these tote boxes except for Armada. So Armada needs a different box. And also my Star Wars Shatterpoint is bursting out of the tote box that it's in, where I want everything to be nice. I want it to all fit. I want it to look really, really pretty on the shelf. And currently nothing looks pretty. Literally this basement is just a sea of miniatures and boxes and baggies. It's a kind of a nightmare. So it probably doesn't matter for most people, but for me, if the packaging was real nice, that would be just the cherry on the cake that is the new Halo miniatures game. My life's a little bit of a mess right now, but you know it's never a mess. That's right, our Patreon. Over there, we have a brand new set of terrain every single month, and this month we have the Crashed Spaceship, an absolutely enormous piece of terrain that is the definition of a centerpiece. And if you always want to know what's going on here at Eons of Battle and be entered into our monthly giveaways, this month we're picking 3 followers to receive this month's terrain, and we're going to pick one of those followers to receive the terrain physically printed by Only Games. If that sounds interesting to you, you can follow the link in the description below to sign up to our newsletter. I can't wait to find out a little bit more about Old World and find out if my cousin is still willing to sell his army to me, and I can't wait to paint up some more goons because I want to play Judge Dredd. Thanks for watching.